Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. As I film this video, it is June 22. So we're approaching the tail end of June, and that means people are already doing pre-orders or sign-ups for 2026 planners. It is wild. It is insane. I've always been really curious and very baffled at how early a lot of planner companies have put up their pre-sales. I specifically heard about Wonderland 222 already accepting pre-orders for their 2026 planners. So I thought this video, we're going to be talking something along those lines of next year's planners, but talking specifically about paper selection, because I know for a lot of us planner folks, paper is a hugely important deciding factor on whether we will get a planner or not. And that goes for our journals as well. So I thought that this video, we can talk about something specifically paper related. And I have here a notebook that is new to me. At least the paper is new to me. And I wanted to share my thoughts and some ink tests that I've done. This is going to be interesting. I want to introduce you this specific paper. It's called Spark Paper or Xinghuozhi, and it's manufactured by Crena in China. So let's get right into what is Spark Paper. Just a little backstory before we delve into the paper testing. I first heard about Spark Paper from one of the people who commented in my earlier videos when I previously compared Bajuanji and Tomoe River S, or the Sanzen Tomoe River Paper. I will put up the link to that comparison video for your reference. But yes, one of the commenters mentioned about Spark Paper, specifically Crena. They're based in China, and this person broached the question, hey, have you heard about this paper? And it's comparable to Tomoe River Paper. So I jumped very quickly to Taobao. It's the AliExpress of China. And that's where I found this paper company that sells Spark Paper. And so I bought a couple of notebooks. This is an A6 64 sheet notebook with the Spark Paper, and I also bought a standard size, like TN standard size, in an A6 notebook just to test out what the paper is all about. But definitely, I can already tell you that there's a big difference between Tomoe River and Spark Paper. And I did a little bit of research about the company Crena and Spark Paper. There's not a lot of information online, mostly from Reddit. I got some information about it on the forum because a lot of planner and even fountain pen enthusiasts talk about paper. And that's where I found that information. And they said that Spark Paper is around 50 GSM, so it is somewhat of a higher GSM than Hobonichi, because I know for a fact that this year Hobonichi is doing 47 GSM. Take a note, the 68 GSM Tomoe River S. Spark Paper is 50 GSM, and later on I will show you some of the pen tests that I did. This is pretty much all of the pens that I used for said test. When I ordered this from Taobao, I was really amazed at how well they packaged the notebooks very securely. It's packaged in cellophane, foam board, in a resealable bag. So there's just no way in transit that these notebooks are gonna get bent or scratched or whatever inside the box. So props to Crena for that. I bought this quite a while ago, I think last year. Yeah, and this is the only time that I'm bringing this up because I heard about this. Someone from the Wonderland 222 Instagram brought up the topic of Spark Paper, and I thought, this is going to be interesting because I do have this paper and I wanted to show you guys how it performs, because I don't know, there might be a possibility that some paper companies are gonna take a look at this paper. But again, with the uncertainty of US tariffs, and because this paper is manufactured in China, some planner companies probably have their manufacturing in China. Actually, almost all stuff that we have right now is manufactured in China. So again, the pricing is going to be very difficult to say with regards to the uncertainty of US tariffs. So that aside, that's how I got into this particular type of paper. So there's not much information about Spark paper, although Redditors have mentioned that this paper really performs well with fountain pen inks and fountain pens in general. So let's get right into the paper test, shall we? Okay, I just wanted to preface that these are all the pens that I used. I try as much as possible to be thorough with the paper testing because I know a lot of us use so many writing and decorating implements, from ballpoint pens to gel pens, fountain pens, highlighters, markers, and stuff, and even stamps. I have some stamps here. I have two kinds of stamps. One is Versa Magic, which is chalk-based, and Versa Fine Clear, which is a lot more saturated, a lot more wet kind of stamp pad ink. And I also have Iroshizuku Yamabudo, which I have done an ink swatch in the papers. And I want to show you the whole gamut of pens that I've used for the paper test so that you can have an idea how versatile the paper is. And I'm going to be comparing Spark paper with the Sanzen 2025 Tomoe River Paper from Owl Paper. And I also am going to be comparing with the Sanzen Tomoe River Paper of Hobonichi Weeks in particular. These are 2025 Sanzen Tomoe River Papers that I'm going to be comparing Spark paper with so that you have an idea of how Tomoe River matches up with Spark paper. Okay, so let's just put aside some of these things. So these are the papers. So this is the Owl paper, Sanzen Tomoe River. And this is the Hobonichi Weeks of this year. And this is Spark paper. So I just tore up a piece from the two planners that I have to show you these Tomoe River papers. But here with Crena Spark paper, I just used the back of this A6 notebook to show you the difference. And I have used the very same, all of the writing implements that I showed you previously. And to show you side by side, let's just zoom in so you can see how similar or different the papers are. So again, Owl paper, Hobonichi, Spark. So with regards to the gel pens, they performed quite well. Let's just take a look at the back. So these are, I swatched all of the pens that I showed you previously, and those are mostly gel pens like the Uniball. I have several Uniballs here, some Sarasa, and also the ballpoint pen of Hobonichi. I have the Zig Color Dot, Tombow, Mild Liners, and some of my fountain pens. Looking at Tomoe River S for both Owl paper and Hobonichi. So Owl paper is actually, I wanted to let you guys know that Owl paper, although they used the 2025 Sanzen, they got a really good batch of paper, because from what the creator of this planner journal said or mentioned to our Facebook group, she printed the planners early. So she did an early print. That's why she got a good batch of paper. And as you can see, there's like super minimal ghosting. And the only one probably that you can fairly see is the click art, the zebra click art. So there's a bit of ghosting there, very minimal, but the rest are actually doing well. And if you look at the chalk stamp ink and versus the wetter stamp pad ink that I have, actually the chalk ink is like very minimal ghosting, and the one with the wetter stamp ink is also minimally ghosting, but the chalk ink performs a lot better, meaning you can't see as much this actual stamping that I did versus the Versa Fine Clear. Yeah, so it performed really well. And even with the ink swatch, I used Yamabudo. there you can see, I'm not sure if the camera is picking up, but in person, I can definitely see the sheening and shading of Yamabudo. And that's the reason why I picked this ink, because it has shading and sheening properties. And you can see it here. I'm not sure just how good the camera picks up the sheening part, but in person, you can see it. And with the Hobonichi Sanzen, so I believe I have the bad paper. The consistency of this paper in my Hobonichi Weeks, the 2025 one that I have, is variable, meaning it changes from page to page. So it's really very unreliable for me. That's why I only use ballpoint pen in my Hobonichi Weeks. I did try using some fountain pen inks earlier in the year, but it seeps through the paper over time. And maybe because I also have sweaty hands, that's why it just sinks through the paper fibers very thoroughly. But when you turn this piece of paper, I would say it performs okay. Maybe this particular page is a lot better than the other pages, but like what I told you, the consistency is touch and go. I can't really rely on the consistency of the paper. But when it comes to the Hongdian M2, this is a fine nib fountain pen. But here you can see it's kind of like writing a medium to bold. The lines are quite thick, and when I turn the page, it's already bleeding through. But with the owl paper, it's also Sanzen, I would say it's not as thick of a line as the Hobonichi Weeks. I would say this Sanzen paper from owl paper kind of like renders my Hongdian fountain pen like a medium. But the one with Hobonichi, it's like bold, it's crazy. And then it's already bleeding through with Hobonichi Weeks, but with owl paper, no. Minimal ghosting even. But when you compare the ink swatching, here is Hobonichi. Yes, you can see the shading, the sheening. Yes, you can actually see it. I'm not sure if you see it in the camera, but in person, you can just see outlines of the sheen. And good Lord, it has really seeped through the paper quite considerably. But with owl paper, not so much. There's a little bit like pinpricks of bleed through there, but not as crazy as Hobonichi. So I'm really grateful that I have owl paper as my planner journal for this year, because this Sanzen batch is actually really good. But let's compare it with Spark paper. So let's put them side by side. I would say the saturation of the inks are quite the same, I'd say. So across all, and remember this is 50 GSM, Spark paper is 50 GSM. So it's considerably thinner than the owl paper, which is 52 GSM. And of course, Hobonichi, this is 47. So it's like in the middle. The GSM is in the middle of these two TRPs, but the quality of the inks on the page is actually quite good. Even with the Uniball Jetstream ballpoint pen of Hobonichi, which I find to be very okay with, I guess, Hobonichi, but I prefer it on the owl paper and with the Spark paper. The way it writes here is really good. And you can see that the stamps are actually saturated as well. The color is vibrant. And also, let me just tell you that the shading and sheening there, you can see the sheening of Yamabudo on Spark paper more pronounced. It's more pronounced than these two TRPs. It's insane. And I just realized that the Redditors are correct, that the ink properties on Spark paper is more pronounced here. You can definitely appreciate the qualities of the ink on this paper. And then let's do the moment of truth at the back. There you go. I hope you're seeing it. I think the only one that really kind of like, not really bled through, but the ghosting is quite a lot with the Click Art, a fine liner. Not really so much fine, but it's like a marker. Versa Magic Chalk Ink minimally ghosts. In like even the 2024 Hobonichi TRP, the stamping actually can be seen predominantly even before. But with Spark, it's like very minimal, and it It's only the click art that's like showing through, but it's not bleeding through at all. The show through is just more pronounced compared to the other gel pens, and even the here at the bottom are the fountain pen inks. The Hongdian is just minimally ghosting here. You can see still what I've written, but it's not, for me, it's not bothersome. And even look at the ink swatch that I did here compared to these other two TRP. I would say All Paper's Sanzen is actually performing really well, but they kind of like the same. But I think that Spark Paper doesn't absorb the ink as much. You can see it already seeping through, but it's not going through the page compared to this ugly mess of the Hobonichi Weeks. Interesting, you guys. So if planner companies are thinking about using this paper, that's a game changer, I would say. And again, this is 50 GSM. It's very, like, really Bible thin. And I guess what I don't really like about this notebook, this is grid, and the grid size is comparable to Hobonichi in terms of the size. But look at the grid print. It's very, I can barely see the grid here on Spark Paper compared to Hobonichi's. Let's compare it to All Paper Sanzen. Spark Paper can barely see it. Oh my gosh. I like the paper. It really works well with most writing implements, and even ink swatching. You can use this as an ink journal, to be honest. You can swatch your inks here, swatch all your pens and what have you, and it's gonna perform considerably well. There you go. Spark Paper. This is a new to me type of paper. Very interesting. It could be a great alternative to TRP. With regards to Cosmo, Airlight, or B7, I know that Just Scribble is using it for her B6 second half planners. I don't remember the GSM of her planners for Cosmo Airlight. I do have a Cosmo Airlight paper, but it's like 83 GSM, so it's quite thick. So I thought that it might not be comparable to do some paper testing with comparing it with and the Hobonichis and basically the Sanzen papers. But I just wanted to give you that overview of Spark Paper in case you are interested. It's only available in Taobao, unfortunately, not even on AliExpress. I think they are. I have not checked. But if my memory serves me right, they could have it because AliExpress is also from China. So you can check it out. I will put the simplified Chinese characters of Spark Paper in the description so that you can just copy paste it and put it up on AliExpress or in Taobao. Taobao is purely Chinese, so you may need to have it translated on your browser. But AliExpress, you can probably type Crena or Spark Paper there. You might be able to find it, but with very little selection. But with Crena on Taobao, they do have a variety of notebooks, not just the usual notebooks that you see here like grid paper. They also have plain paper, like no ruling. They also sell loose leaves of the Spark Paper in reams, in A4 reams, if I'm not mistaken. They also have planners, week size, and also 5-year journals comparable to Hobonichi. They really are challenging Hobonichi in that respect. Again, Spark Paper by Crena. You may want to look it up. You may want to try it out for yourself and see if this is something that you would want to consider for your 2026 journals. I'm not sure for planners because, of course, I'm not sure if the planner makers or planner creators are going to be using this kind of paper. I'm not sure. Maybe, but don't quote me on that. So I just wanted to give you that lowdown on this paper. With that said, I hope you found this video interesting and helpful when you are looking out for your next planners or journal for next year. And as always, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, please feel free to hit me up in the comment section. If you'd like to have more content from me, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Thank you for your time, and as always, I will see you in the next video.